Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to garbaugust 2025, where we are instructed by the event's creator, Ollie, at Criminolly, to stop wearing and just enjoy trash. And I have been doing that. I took a break from trash in order to host Christopher Russell here as my guest for a week, and I'm trusting that none of you is going to stoop to the obvious joke that suggests itself right at that moment. I think better of you. But Christopher has fled. He has, as so many of you put it, escaped. And so we are back to a barrage of videos, because now I'm a lonely old shut-in again. I may never have another house guest. So I have embraced garbaugust for its final week of this year. And I have assembled various books that look like the good kind of garbage, the garbaugust kind of garbage. Not new books that everybody thinks highly of that stink, not new books that the author thinks highly of that nevertheless stinks, not stuff like that, but rather stuff that we can all laugh at together. I have accumulated those things over the year, and I have not been reading them. Instead, I have let the Amazon algorithm, usually for Amazon Unlimited, for Kindle Unlimited, which is I know we're all supposed to hate Amazon, but the Kindle is a better library than the shelves that line your walls and make your floors groan under the weight, gather silverfish and dust and deadly brown recluse spiders. The Kindle is a better library than that. A Kindle ebook is a better book than a physical book, because you can search it, you can find it easily, you can annotate it to your heart's content, you can preserve it. If the physical chassis in which you're reading it is destroyed, the book is not destroyed. And in addition to that, Amazon has also built a better library. Your lending library, that you put on your straw bonnet and you go down the lane and into town, and you go to your library and you put back some books that are swimming in syphilis, and you take out some books that are popping and jumping with hepatitis C. And you have just a limited amount of time to read them. Oh my God, I've got to get these back to the physical building. Kindle Unlimited on Amazon says you can borrow, despite the name, you are limited, but you can borrow, a couple of dozen books ebooks at a time. And you keep them as long as you want. There's no physical drain on the system. You keep them as long as you want, but once you reach your limit of the books that Kindle allows, well, then you have to return one in order to borrow another one. So it keeps you motivated. And I do a lot of reading on Kindle Unlimited because I like to see what the indie people are doing. I like to see what the poets in Ghana are doing. And therefore, Kindle Unlimited has shaped a lot of my garbaugust reading this year. And I have been ignoring the garbage books that I got specifically for this event. Go figure. And I mean to rectify that. We still have 10 days left, so I have time to do a lot more garbaugust videos. But I read a Kindle Unlimited book last night. And believe it or not, you're going to look at one element of the front cover and you're going to think, oh, well, of course you were drawn to that. But if you look at the other element of the front cover, you'll see that this is actually well outside my comfort zone. I read it specifically for that because I thought it's always good to challenge yourself and read outside your comfort zone. This is by Juliet Dixon. And since neither of those things are anything else, that might be the author's name. And it is The Cat Code. And I can't stress this enough. Only one part of that cover appeals to Steve. And the other part appeals to him so little, it disappeals to him so much as to cancel out the first one. And sure enough, cats feature prominently in this thing. This is a story of a young man named Marcus, who's gorgeous, and he works in an animal shelter, and he has 3 cats, and they rule his life. They talk to him, they dominate him, they bully him for time, attention, cuddles, food, whatever. And he's okay with that. He's just okay with that. And he meets a man named Sebastian. And there's something odd about Sebastian. He seems at first and then later on even more so, like a human version of Marcus's cats. Only they don't seem to like Sebastian. at all. They seem indifferent or even borderline hostile to him. Of course, Marcus and Sebastian like the heck out of each other, and here like can be a heavy euphemism. But you are still thinking, for half the book, you're thinking, okay, there's something going on here. What is the connection, if any, between Sebastian and these cats? What is the connection between... What is going on with Sebastian is the question that hovers over the book for the first half. Despite all of the stuff going on and all of the plot developments that happen in and around the shelter and all of the plot developments that happen in bed and whatnot. And there isn't really any payoff for that. Not really. And the rest of it, the beginning of the book has a kind of febrile tension to it that I kind of sort of liked, and then the whole thing falls apart like a bad souffle. And I attribute that to the fact that most authors are much more familiar with the first 30 pages of their book than they are with any other part of it. That's the part they're going over over and over again. Whether no matter what your writing procedure is, you're going to go over that more than you are any other part of your book, I think. I've known a couple of authors who said, oh, no, you've got that just wrong. It's the end of your book that you go over the most. But considering how many crappy endings I've read, this book has a crappy ending. I don't believe that. But it wasn't just the lack of payoff in the plot. It was also the writing and the characters. The whole thing just went south. And it went south fast enough so that, I mean, the ending... I was hoping that the ending would feature the addition of a big, healthy, hearty dog who would set everybody's emotions right, and also maybe a whole bunch of freewheeling, promiscuous euthanasia. Instead, there was nothing. Instead, I got nothing like that. The cats are still firmly in control of this book at the end. So, on the one hand, I can report a negative experience because I read a book, obviously, by a cat lover about loving cats. About loving cats more than maybe even loving a set of abs you could bounce a quarter off, which is heresy. But on the other hand, there was a positive, which is that I read a piece of trash. This is good, happy trash for garbaugust. So I'm back on my feet for that event, and I will push on. Now, what will I do? Will I keep doing algorithm type things, whether it's a daily email deal or Kindle Unlimited or whatnot, or will I maybe break out and just read trash that I have here? I don't know. I will. It's still very, very early, as you can tell from my sleepy beans. So I will let it go, and I will see what happens. And you'll be the first to know. We'll make a video tomorrow. So I'll see you then. Thank you, BookTube.